Hi, this is Leanne at the Heritage Museum, and this morning we're going to do the Courageous Woman story on Brenda McDonald. I just wanted to show you, to begin with, this picture of a woman named Sadie Holdaway. She was elected to be the recorder in Uintah County in 1900. She was the first woman to hold a public office in Uintah County. In 1896, the state of Utah was made a state. Women were given the right to vote for the second time after a 10-year denial of the vote. And when they got this vote, it was done with the constitutional right of the state of Utah for women to not only vote, but they could also hold office. And Sadie tried for that office in the year of 1900. Today we're going to talk to our modern day county recorder. But to do so, I'm going to go over to the county office. So I'm going to close for just a moment and we'll be right back. Sadie, that's in the vault. If you look back here, there are 4 men who held that office before she did. All right, so let's introduce you to Brenda. There we go. Hi, Brenda. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
So can you explain what this room is all about?
Yes, I can. This room is where we have title companies that come in and search, or the public, to search the records of their properties. And they can pull out the abstract books and go through the history clear back to patent on their property. Patent is when the government first issued the land to the people. And around the walls in this office, you'll see all of the previous recorders.
So if I scan, oh wow, man, look at that. There's a man, but women, and it goes all the way around till you'll see Brenda right at the end over there. So if you'd like to sit, do you think that would be more enjoyable?
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit about Brenda?
Well, thank you for inviting me today. I was born and raised in Vernal. My parents are Gina and Janet Gurr. My grandparents are Orville and Leela Hollinger and Beulah and Earl Gurr. Go back many generations here. I have 2 brothers. I married Kim McDonald 40 years ago. We just had our 40th anniversary. And we have 2 sons. They're Brandon and Rusty, and their wives Liza and Sheena. We have 4 grandkids. That's where I spend all of my time, playing with grandkids. And I work.
So how did you get involved in the recorder's office? What made you want to run for office?
Wow. I started working for the previous recorder, Randy Simmons, when he took office in 1991. And I worked for him for many years. My husband was transferred away a couple times, so I left and came back. I really enjoy working with land. I love the history of land. I like history. Who knew? Growing up, I'd have never thought. I can't even tell you who my history teachers were anymore. But yeah, I do like history, and I love it more and more all the time. I enjoy looking back at the history of property. And there's been a day or two that I've gone back through and found, oh, great-great-grandparents owned this property or something. It's just fun. It's fun for me.
What exactly do you record? What do we get from the recorder? And is the job a lot different today than it was when Sadie was the recorder?
So the recorder's office is governed by the state. The state mandates everything we do, how we do it, what we charge, everything. The recorder's office will record everything to do with property. We have everything from water, mining, mineral, oil and gas. We have patented mining. We also have federal tax liens. We have cemetery documents. We have everything in this office that has anything to do with property. It keeps the land records straight. We do set the tax roll. And sorry, my nose itches.
No, you're fine.
We set the tax roll for the county. And once the tax roll is set, then we turn that over to the assessor, who then assesses the property and then turns it over to the treasurer to tax on the property.
So you have a really important job.
Yes.
So if I were looking for a record of one of the first public services here in Uintah County, could I find it here in your office? Say a business?
We do not keep track of businesses.
Okay.
We keep track of landowners.
Just the owners.
Yes. It's quite interesting. In some of our old chattel books, they do take out loans on chattel, which could be 10 pigs or 4 cows. It's a lot of fun to see.
Fascinating.
Some of the things, and they actually wrote those in the books and what price they paid for them back in those days. And anymore, Utah is non-disclosure state, so people do not have to disclose what they paid for property.
Oh, they don't?
No, they don't. So when you buy a property on your deed, it will say $10 for the consideration, and so you don't have to disclose what you pay for your property. But back in the day, the documents did show what you paid for property.
So with all the oil leases, and we know it's not such a big business for you right now, but there are times. Does that get pretty hairy?
You know, now that we're online, you ask the differences. What we do now, we do not continue books. We stopped writing in books in 2002.
Oh, okay.
We quit copying documents into books in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And so now everything is online, and we are in the process of going through our old books and putting the data into the computer so they're searchable. And we're back into the 70s for that, which leaves us about 90 years to go.
Right.
But we are putting everything online. So most of the time, searchers don't come in that often anymore, only for the older things that we don't have online to search by. But all of our documents to view are online. So we don't see title companies like we used to, or landmen like we used to.
Right.
They used to come in this vault, and at one time, this vault was clear full of books to the ceiling. And there was only a counter in the center that they would lay the books on and search from because we didn't have room.
Okay.
This office was remodeled right at the end of Randy's term and gave us 2 more rooms of vault. So we have 2 more rooms that have books.
I did get to go back there one time. I was looking for a mine claim for one of the people that I was researching.
Oh, yeah.
We never did find it.
But back in the day, they were shoulder to shoulder, and they didn't want other people to know what lease they were looking at. They used to cover the top of the book where it said the section township range across the top. Because, yes, it was secretive, and they didn't want the next person to know where they were looking for leases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially those mine claims.
Yes.
They were...
We had to be very careful not to speak very loudly about if they ask us a question about their section township range, because it's money, and they are very quiet about it.
I do have a question, just because I've been researching, again, another story. The difference between a homesteading claim and a squatting claim. Do you know anything about those?
So a homesteading claim is when they would come in and they'd work out an agreement with the government to work the land to be able to homestead the lands.
Right.
Squatters just moved in and kind of took over what they could.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then could they claim it eventually?
They still had to go through the government steps to be able to get a patent to get those properties. And it's so funny because some of those, the guidelines, they had to have a structure on there. So some of those properties, they didn't build anything more than just like an outhouse size structure
Right.
to meet that agreement.
So when I was talking to Wendy last week, I asked her if she has angry people come in, and she says she does. Does that happen to you ever?
Yes, we do. It's rare, but we do get people upset because most of the time it's about a property line. Somebody's building a fence and it's on their property.
Correct.
But we do get people that do have problems. We had one gentleman who bought a lot. A government lot is not a normal shape. It's properties broken down into 40s.
Okay.
This lot wasn't 40 acres, and because it was along the river.
Okay.
And this gentleman bought lot 4. Well, as the river shifts,
It changes.
it changes. And we know the Green River changes a lot.
Right.
We had him contact the surveyor, and they worked with the surveyor. Surveyor went out, resurveyed that area, and his property he thought was his. He was cleaning it up. He had removed some old trailers and got rid of them. Come to find out it wasn't his property. It was his neighbor's property. His property ended up being a little island within Green River
Oh.
at that time because of the river shift.
Okay. So he lost
Yeah.
on that deal for
Yes,
sure.
he did.
Yeah, I know I live in some property right now that all the neighbors are telling me have different stuff. So I've been trying to think, okay, you hire a surveyor to come and try to find the points, correct?
Yes.
And before you build a fence, would it be wise to always have a survey?
You
if
know, a
it's
lot of
unimproved?
properties are surveyed, especially subdivisions, and they have markers.
Right,
And markers shouldn't be removed, but some people remove them.
right.
And sometimes you can find your neighbor's marker and build off of that and find where you should be. But for the most part, a survey is the best way to go and make sure.
And you just hire your own. When does the county surveyor get involved with what is the county surveyor's job versus you
A
getting
private
someone-
land surveyor.
right.
Okay. The county surveyor, his main concern is making sure we have good information, good points. Our maps for this office are based on county surveyor's points. And if we don't have those points for the area, we use the old government points, which were just calculated. And so that makes our maps really ugly because not everything is a certain length. The county surveyor maintains those things, and he is really good at going out and maintaining those old monument markers, making sure they're in the place that they should be.
That's wonderful. I have one question just because I've been listening to ads that are saying that people can steal your titles.
Okay.
Is that a big issue?
We have not seen that in so much in this area, part of the country. Back east and out west, California, have seen a lot of that. I am in the process of putting something in place that people can be notified if something is recorded against their property.
I was hoping for that.
Yes. Ryan, our IT guy, is working on that as we speak. He is building it so that anytime we put in your property serial number, you get an email. But in order to do that, Salt Lake County has implemented it, and we're kind of basing ours off of what they've done.
Okay.
And I will send out letters when we get that set up, and anybody that wants to sign up can sign up and have an email sent to them anytime anything is recorded. I do want people's properties to be secure. One instant that I know of, it was Minnesota. the woman had passed away. Her daughter kept the home up and she didn't live in the same town, so she hired out the lawn care and everything. But when she went to her mother's home 2 years later, it had been sold. And what had happened is they had someone come in who notarized saying that this person was that person that owned the home, which was, they found out that notaries have been behind some of this, so they track the notary that has done that. But because you only can sign out with your name.
Okay.
And if you have an initial and it's on your property, but you don't sign out with that initial,
Right.
our office won't change it. We are sticklers.
So you are looking for that.
We are watching as close as possible as we can. Now, to forge somebody's name, we don't know signatures.
Right.
So back then, she went to the county and she said, "That's my mom's property. I did not sell it. Someone is living there." What had happened is somebody said they had bought the home, flipped it, and sold it. So there was 3 people involved that didn't even have anything to do with the forgery.
Oh, interesting.
So her mother's home had been sold to a flipper. The flipper did all this work, turned around and sold it. And so there is a mortgage on that home for $350,000.
Wow.
So it can be done, but the smaller areas are not hit like Detroit, Michigan, or areas like that are the areas that are hit the most.
So it sounds to me like there's a lot of continuing education that you have to keep
There
up
is.
with all the rules and regulations that
There
come
is.
your way. And does it feel, I know that Wendy was saying she didn't feel courageous. Does it feel courageous to do what you do?
Wow. I am outside of my box, my comfort zone. Some days I think, what am I doing? And I just have to buck up and move ahead. I don't look at myself as a courageous person, but I have been out of my comfort zone more times than I thought I ever would be in this job.
And is it getting that do you get confidence though as you work through?
Yeah, you do build confidence, but then something else comes up and it's new and it's different, and the laws change every year. So you have to watch the legislature and be very involved in that. I go out every week of the legislature and sit in on the meetings to see what's going on, what will affect this office.
Well, thank you so much for having this interview with me and for what you do for
Thank you,
Uintah
Leanne,
County.
for asking me.
We're grateful for all your service.
Well, I love this. I love this. This is home, and I want Uintah County to be great, always. So,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll see you next week.